Have you ever heard of the Russian sleep experiment? It's one of the most chilling stories to ever crawl out of the dark corners of the internet. The tale goes like this. In the late 1940s, Soviet researchers locked 5 political prisoners in a sealed chamber. They were promised their freedom if they could stay awake for 30 days, aided by an experimental stimulant gas. For the first few days, things seemed normal. The subjects talked, sharing stories from their past. But by day 5, their conversations darkened. They became paranoid, whispering into the microphones, betraying their comrades in hopes of winning favor with the researchers. By day 9, the screaming started. One subject ran back and forth, screaming at the top of his lungs for hours until his vocal cords tore. Then, suddenly, an eerie silence fell over the chamber. Fearing the worst, the researchers announced they were opening the chamber. A voice from inside calmly replied, "We no longer want to be freed." When they finally forced the door open on day 15, the scene was a nightmare. The food had been untouched for days. The subjects had committed unspeakable acts of self-mutilation. They had torn open their own abdomens, their organs lying on the floor. Yet they were still alive, still awake. The soldiers who entered the chamber were horrified. The subjects fought back with superhuman strength, begging to be sealed back inside with the gas. They screamed that they must remain awake. One by one, as they were removed from the gas, they died. The last surviving subject was taken to surgery. When the anesthesiologist tried to put him under, the man fought him off, demanding to stay awake. As the surgeon worked on his ravaged body, the subject was said to have looked at him and smiled. "So, nearly free," he whispered, before his heart finally gave out. It's a terrifying story, right? It feels so detailed, so plausible, that it's been shared millions of times as a true, dark secret from the Cold War. But here's the thing. It's completely fake. The Russian sleep experiment is a masterpiece of internet folklore, a modern campfire story known as a creepypasta. It first appeared online around 2010, likely on a paranormal board on 4chan, and its anonymous author crafted a story so compelling it took on a life of its own. But just because the story is fiction doesn't mean the science behind it is entirely baseless. The core of the horror lies in a very real and dangerous phenomenon: sleep deprivation. What really happens when a person is forced to stay awake for an extended period? Well, history has some unsettling answers. Let's go back to the late 1800s. A Russian scientist named Marie de Manassain conducted some of the first systematic studies on sleep deprivation using puppies. She kept them constantly active, preventing them from sleeping. The results were tragic. After just a few days, the puppies died. Post-mortem examinations revealed severe damage and hemorrhages in their brains, particularly in crucial areas like the frontal lobe. Her work demonstrated for the first time that sleep isn't just a state of rest. It's an essential biological function, and its absence is lethal. These early animal studies laid the groundwork for our understanding of sleep. But what about humans? The most famous case of voluntary human sleep deprivation is that of Randy Gardner. In 1964, as a 17-year-old high school student, he decided to stay awake for a science fair project. He wanted to see what would happen, and what happened was a lot. Under the watchful eye of Stanford sleep researcher Dr. William Dement, Randy Gardner stayed awake for an astonishing 264 hours. That's 11 days and 25 minutes. On day 2, his eyes had trouble focusing. By day 3, he was moody and uncoordinated. By day 4, he started having hallucinations, imagining he was a famous football player. His cognitive abilities plummeted. He struggled with simple math problems, and his memory became fragmented. He grew paranoid, believing the radio host was making fun of him. Randy's experience showed that the brain begins to malfunction without sleep. It essentially forces itself to take micro-sleeps, brief moments of unconsciousness that last only a few seconds, even if the person's eyes are open. These mental lapses, combined with emotional instability and hallucinations, are the very real-world basis for the horror in the Russian sleep experiment. While Randy Gardner didn't become a monstrous creature, his descent into confusion and paranoia mirrors the psychological breakdown described in the creepypasta. The difference, of course, is that Randy Gardner eventually went to sleep. He slept for nearly 15 hours straight, and, remarkably, recovered with no apparent long-term effects. His case, and others like it, show that while extreme sleep deprivation can cause temporary psychosis-like symptoms, the human body has a powerful drive to restore itself through sleep. So, why is the Russian sleep experiment so effective as a story? It takes a very real fear, the loss of control over our own minds, and pushes it to an unimaginable extreme. We all know how it feels to be tired and irritable after a single sleepless night. The story preys on that shared experience, asking, what if you could never turn your brain off? What would you become? It combines this primal fear with the mysterious and often brutal history of Soviet-era science, a setting that feels just plausible enough for such a horrific experiment to have been covered up. The story's details, the stimulant gas, the sealed chamber, the political prisoners, are all ingredients in a perfect recipe for a modern myth. Ultimately, the Russian sleep experiment isn't a true story about Soviet science. It's a true story about us. Our fears, our fascination with the unknown limits of the human body, and the incredible power of a well-told story to blur the lines between fiction and reality in the digital age. It's a reminder that sometimes, the most terrifying monsters are the ones we create in our own minds. So the next time you're having trouble falling asleep, don't worry. You won't turn into a creature from a creepypasta. But it is a good reminder of just how important it is to get a good night's rest. Your brain will thank you for it. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the internet's most famous legends, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations into the strange and fascinating. Let me know in the comments what other internet mysteries you'd like me to cover next. Stay curious and sleep well.